I think aspiring cinematographers should really be focusing on their work more than anything. As much as we talked about before, networking is really important, not just with directors and production companies, but also other DPs, because they have a wealth of knowledge. Sometimes they're looking for you to execute a job, do it efficiently, and make the day. I started out basically in film school wanting to shoot, and I knew that that was the career path I wanted to lead. I started in the industry in 2002. I was still in film school. I was doing an internship at a couple of production houses in the city and met people in the industry at that time and basically became a full-time shooter around 2008. I've primarily been shooting commercials, and I really love that side of the business. I feel like there's a lot of creativity, and a lot of times you get to do your craft a bit differently because you're working on different types of projects and different creative and different directors and different ideas. So it's been really fun. I feel like commercials allowed for that flexibility. You weren't necessarily tied into one particular look that you were consistently trying to keep going on a show, for example, or a movie, let's say. In the beginning, I think you really want to make your work stand out. You want it to feel different. Anyone can kind of copy someone else's work these days. And I feel like a good way to start in the business is to bring a different vision to some of the work that's out there and create your own unique look. Yeah, I feel like you want to be able to show people that you can work in different mediums and shoot different content, especially in the commercial side of things, where at one minute you may be asked to shoot cars, or you may be asked to shoot food or something with a very cinematic look. You want to be able to show people that your body of work can cover all of those mediums. I think at the beginning of your career, you want to make good relationships with really great directors, guys that want to execute something. And maybe at the beginning, it's you and an aspiring director who want to create a spec spot or a short film or a music video and bring something unique to the table. I think the second you start doing that and the more of that type of work that you deliver, all of a sudden people will start taking notice and they'll want to hire you to bring your look to a large advertising campaign. I think the career path that you take, everyone's will be different. I know for myself, it jumped all over the place at the beginning. I basically took any opportunity that was given to me to shoot something. If there's really great directors that you want to be working with, I think, taking them out for a coffee, trying to do a Zoom, trying to talk to them on the phone, sending a really nice email, complimenting their work, but also at the same time telling them that you want to, or you're aspiring to do the type of work that they work on, are good ways to try and open some of those doors. I feel that bombarding people with emails and phone calls sometimes can be a bit much. And now in the day and age where we can communicate with almost anyone instantaneously, from celebrities to your mom, you don't want to be remembered as that person that was just hounding over and over for a job. I think aspiring cinematographers should really be focusing on their work more than anything. I think if there's an idea that they want to produce something themselves, I think they should shoot a little spec thing for themselves, and then you'll be able to have a library of work that you can show directors and production companies. I don't know that I from talking to some people out there, I know that production companies get bombarded with emails all the time with people trying to shoot or become directors or you name it. But I don't know that that's necessarily the best route. I feel like young shooters will just get lost in the shuffle that way. I think if you focus on your work and you can create a really amazing Instagram page or a website to show off the stuff that you can do, you'll find that people will start looking for you and hunting you down because of your work. Obviously, networking is part of the job, and this whole industry is very collaborative. You're going to be looking for new relationships and people to work with all the time. But I think your work really has to stand out and speak for itself, and then the work will come. I think early on in your career, you're going to want to bring fresh ideas, a ton of fresh ideas and a different approach to things. But sometimes people aren't looking for that. Sometimes they're looking for you to execute a job, do it efficiently, and make the day. I feel that the industry can be really hard on young DPs. At times you may just feel like you're lost in the hierarchy of advertising. There are a lot of creative people that are involved on a shoot, and some decisions have been made well before you've even been hired. So, sometimes you're brought to the table to bring a different look or a different idea to the table, but sometimes you're hired to execute an idea that they've seen you do before or that they know that you can accomplish very quickly. I think some of the qualities that make you a successful DP is that you have to remember that film is a super collaborative process, and you want to be able to work with a lot of departments in order to achieve what you're trying to do. Obviously, there's like politics involved when you're on set, but you want to be able to very nicely be able to explain what you're trying to do and hopefully get all the other departments in line and on the same page about your approach. Some advice I'd give to my younger self would be to not rush things. Trying to get to a certain point in your career will eventually come. It may take, everyone's timeline is different. No one's going to have the same path coming up through the industry, but you want to be able to obviously be remembered for the work that you do, keeping the job on track and on budget is extremely important. So sometimes there's a piece of fancy equipment that you may want for a shoot, but you're going to blow the entire budget on that one piece of equipment that's only really going to execute one shot. Remember that there's a story that needs to be told, and what's most important to the director is doing exactly that. So if you get too hung up on executing one particular shot or one particular idea, the day could be lost, and all of a sudden the spot isn't made, and then you're hung to dry. I think everything in life is a little bit of a long game. I don't think, people believe that they can become rich overnight or be super successful at their career overnight. And I don't think any of that's true. I think a lot of it comes with experience and time in the game. I feel like experience comes with all the different types of work that you do, the different people that you work with, the different crews that work with you. And I think that, if you focus on your career and execute jobs the way they're intended, your reputation will speak for itself. In my early days, when I knew that I wanted to do a certain type of creative, I ended up watching a lot of movies in my free time and also looking at my peers' work in the industry. There was some really fantastic shooters when I was coming out. when I was coming up in my career, and I really paid attention to the type of lighting that they did or the interesting camera moves that they made. And sometimes I'd reach out to those DPs and ask them a bunch of questions on how they made a certain commercial or a certain film. And to be perfectly honest, a lot of them were open with, their ideas and their approach, and I learned a ton from them. We're in this very unique time where, accessibility to people is becoming way easier, and very much like myself early on in my career, I wanted to learn from my peers and people that were, DPs that I looked up to. And I think a lot of it, as much as we talked about before, networking is really important, not just with directors and production companies, but also other DPs, because they have a wealth of knowledge and a ton of experience doing things. And you really want to hear their stories and their ideas. So it's important that you go out and meet other shooters and meet anyone that you look up to in the industry, because they're going to give you some really great advice that's hopefully going to move you up in your career.